All right, guys, we've been talking a lot about the Los Angeles fires on this channel, and there is so much going on, so many stories entangled in the much larger story. Of course, a lot of devastation and loss as people are watching their entire livelihoods being burned down, but also a lot of stupidity, bureaucracy, and failure when it comes to the leadership here in this city. And of course, if we're going to talk about these fires, we have to talk about LAFD. Now, I'm going to show you a video that I think is going to blow your mind.
I need everyone to see what just came out of a Los Angeles fire assistant chief's mouth, because this is beyond belief. She just admitted she can't save men from fires and then, get this, blame the victims. This isn't just about one shocking comment. This exposes how DEI policies are literally putting lives at risk in one of America's largest cities. And once you see how deep this goes, you'll understand why LA's emergency services are in complete chaos. I want to know what you all's thoughts. Drop them in the comments, and let's dive into this together.
The city is experiencing with this entire disaster that is taking place here. But first, you have got to see this.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
And then it closes out with only about 5% of working firefighters are women. You just made a great case for there being more. What did I just hear? Because this video is only like 25 seconds, I'm gonna play it again because I have to make sure that we all get this in our brains, that we all get to experience this together just one more time.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Oh my gosh, so much to go over here. First of all, when in your lives have you ever been in an emergency of any kind where you need help and support from the people around you and hopefully professionals around you and thought, I hope they look like me? You know, if I'm calling EMS right now, I hope the person who shows up is a biracial female who's the same age as me, who can understand my marginalized experience. No, never in my life have I thought that. And if you are somebody who's thinking that, I urge you to reevaluate, because these are not the metrics by which we should be judging people who are providing services to us, especially life-saving services like putting out fires. Never in my life have I thought, I hope that there is a biracial lesbian who's putting out the fires right now in Los Angeles, because I feel like she's going to understand some part of my experience.
Exactly. Like, are we seriously putting identity politics over saving lives? When your house is burning down, you don't care what your firefighter looks like. You care if they can do the job. But here's the crazy part. This assistant chief is basically admitting she can't do a crucial part of the job, and instead of addressing that, she's blaming potential victims. This is what happens when ideology trumps public safety every single time.
Not a lesbian, I didn't just come out of the closet for this video. But let's keep talking and let's get serious here. Now, she goes on to talk about having to save a man in a fire, responding to a fire call where she has to carry a man out, clearly indicating that she's not capable of doing so. And she says, if I'm in the position where I have to carry a man out of a fire, he's the one who put himself there? She's victim blaming men? Can you imagine anybody saying this about virtually any other thing? Just for a moment, imagine a police officer responding to a sexual assault victim and saying, you know, you got yourself in this position. It's not on me to have to get you out of it. You put yourself here. It's ridiculous. But because we care about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we allow this to go on, and we allow something like this to be said by an assistant fire chief in a city that is consistently experiencing wildfires. Please make it make sense. And when you look into this woman's background, of course, you're going to find this. Now, this is out of the Daily Wire. Larson was a founding member of Equity on Fire. Of course, she was a founding member of Equity on Fire.
There it is. Now it all makes sense. She's not just any assistant chief. She literally founded an organization pushing DEI in fire departments. Y'all see how this works? Step 1, create DEI organization. Step 2, push lowered standards. Step 3, Blame victims when you can't meet basic job requirements. Meanwhile, LA is literally burning while they play identity politics with people's lives.
Of course, she is somebody who cares deeply about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and she wants the firefighters to look like her and respond to the calls of people who look like her. But when she gets there and has an inability to do her job and she can't carry your husband out of the fire, I guess he's the one who put himself in that situation. He's the one that brought about this situation that he's now living in. Now, if a man calls in the middle of the LA wildfires that we're experiencing right now, did he put himself in that situation to be somebody who's needing to call the fire department to save his life, to save his house? Of course not. But this is what happens when we choose to just drop everything on the altar of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is the world that we're going to be experiencing, and we've seen it time after time. And when you try to have the conversation and say, maybe this is not the direction that we need to move forward in, people call you out. They say that you're a racist. They say that you're blaming Black women and lesbians or LGBTQ plus people. And there's no greater example of this than what recently happened on CNN when one of their hosts, Scott Jennings, tries to broach the topic of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's see the clip.
And the fire departments and the firefighters in California. And the interest was that there were too many white men who were firefighters, and we need to have a program in California to make sure we don't have enough white men as firefighters. So we have DEI, we have budget cuts, and yet I'm wondering now, if your house is burning down, how much do you care what color the firefighters are?
You can respond and then we'll...
Listen, I am so tired. You know what? There was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is Black women. So let me be clear.
Let me be crystal clear in giving a dumb argument to a statement that you just made that is totally valid about what we're experiencing right now. Let me throw out this random survey study that says that Black women are the most educated in this country, which again has nothing to do with what he said. And if we're going to judge people on the basis of their education, which is not everything you need when it comes to being a firefighter, and we'll get to that in just a moment, then the metric you have for choosing people should be education, not whether or not they're Black and they're female. But nonetheless, she throws out this fact as if it's just meant to be taken up and it's meant to just sweep under the rug everything that we're experiencing in the city of Los Angeles right now. Make it make sense. And just so she knows, intelligence is not all you need when you're a firefighter. You need stamina, you need a brute force, you need a lot of strength. And sometimes women are capable of doing that job. And kudos to every single firefighter, male or female, that is out there right now fighting these fires in Los Angeles. You are brave, and we appreciate every single ounce of work that you are putting in right now in your underfunded, understaffed, and overworked departments. But we can talk about that a little later. Maybe I digress on that point. This does not substantiate diversity, equity, and inclusion being implemented all across the city of Los Angeles. But still, she's going to go on and make an argument for the practice. Let's keep watching.
Because you are a woman, or because I know that some of the right has been sharing these photos of the fact that I believe that the fire chief may be a woman or something, that has nothing to do with it. We are looking at qualifications. What diversity, equity, and inclusion has always been about is saying, you know what? Open this up. Don't just look at the white men. Open it up and recognize that other people can be qualified. And the fact that we want to, at a time when people are dying, decide that a country of immigrants is failing, or people are dying because the same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House. And I can promise you, it was my ancestors that built the White House. So listen, if we have been good enough to build this country, we are good enough to serve and die overseas, we are good enough to serve in other ways. And the fact that people actually...
Dude, his face is me at this point, just sitting there, just duking it out. He's about to give a damn Jim in the Office look to the camera at this point, because what are you talking about? These emotional arguments about your Blackness and slavery and the building of the United States and immigrants and the White House have nothing to do with the issues that we are experiencing right now in this city and in the United States, in the West. at large when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if you don't want this to be about being a woman or being black or being lesbian, as has been the case for the Los Angeles Fire Department, then take those things out and judge people based on their qualifications. And that's not what DEI is about. DEI is not about opening the playing field for all those who meet the standard. It is about giving preferential treatment to people of certain identity characteristics because we want more diversity. And we've heard it from the LAFD fire chief herself. We've clearly heard it from this assistant fire chief in the video that we just watched. It's important to see people who look like me. And when Scott Jennings says that comes at the burden of our entire city, all the residents in it, and of white men who also want these jobs, he is 100% correct. You don't believe me? Look up the stories of people who have tried to make it into the LAFD and have been rejected, and they can track it as being because of their race and because of the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Okay? But let's see if she has anything else to say that makes even an ounce of sense. Because so far we've heard nothing.
Decide that they want to engage in public service, whether it's sitting in Congress or whether it's serving on the fire department or the police department, should not be an issue. The fact is, stop trying to act as if only white men are the ones that are capable. Because right now you're sitting at a table with 3 very capable black women.
Oh my gosh. You could not get a worse representative for diversity, equity, and inclusion than this. Her very arguments are to me so telling that diversity, equity, inclusion is not the way to move forward. She has not made a single valid argument this entire time, and she speaks to her own capability as a black woman and the capability of the 2 other black women at the table around her, when her capabilities were never being called into question. But she's made it about herself, as so often these woke leftists do, because at the end of the day, it is about them and their identity. It is not about anybody else. And when Scott Jennings says this brings down white men, it brings down the residents who are experiencing these tragedies, he's 100% right. It's just an uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear at this moment. And it's not to label any group of a specific identity or racial characteristic as being incapable. It is just to say that that identity characteristics and that racial group should not be brought in as a metric for judgment when we are trying to figure out your capabilities. And if the LAFD fire chiefs and assistant fire chiefs happen to be white women lesbians or biracial lesbians and they're there because of their capabilities, by all means, I will cheer them on. But when you lead the conversation with saying I'm a woman and a lesbian, or I'm a biracial woman lesbian, we've lost the plot a little bit. Lead with your capabilities then. And in the case of the fire chief that's getting a lot of flack online for having pushed diversity, equity, inclusion within the LAFD, I think she has like 22 years experience as both an engineer and a firefighter. Why don't you lead with that? And why are you more subservient to your own agenda and your own ideology than you are to your job and to helping the people of Los Angeles? Riddle me that.
I'm not. I'm just simply saying that as a matter of public policy in California, the main interest in the fire department lately has been in DEI programming and budget cuts, and now we have this massive fire.
Hold on, are we really, but Scott, are we really blaming the fire department? The people in the LA fire department.
No, I'm blaming the
right?
Democrats who run the state.
No, but the fire department right now, they are dealing with a historic fire, okay?
And they have terrible leadership.
That is
Political
caused
leadership.
by climate, by the fact that it is extremely dry in the state of.
Listen, this is way bigger than one assistant chief's comments. This is about a system that's putting ideology above public safety. They're more focused on what firefighters look like than whether they can actually save lives. But here's the thing. The recent LA fires exposed exactly why this matters. When your house is burning, when your family needs rescue, the only thing that matters is if that firefighter can do the job. If you're ready to expose more of these dangerous policies, hit subscribe and drop safety first in the comments. The system doesn't want us connecting these dots, but we're going to keep doing it anyway.